Hello, everybody. How you doing today? This is Sakoni Prince, and I am super excited to be able to bring you another episode of the H.E.A.L podcast. H.E.A.L is an acronym for Help, Elevate, and Learn, and it's actually based on my book, my latest book by the same title, and it's a guide for healing your inner child. One of the reasons I wrote the book and started this podcast is because I wanted to start the conversation about inner child trauma, inner child wounds, but even more so, inner child healing. And like Dr. Phil, I heard him say that you can't fix what you won't face. So we all have to be willing to actually put in the work in order for us to get where we need to be in our life and be in a better place and a better space. But I also want to actually thank our sponsor for sponsoring this podcast, none other than BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who's had years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or your computer, via a phone call, a video chat, or messaging. However you feel most comfortable. It is the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal or choose Sakoni Prince Heal during your sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Well, again, we want to thank BetterHelp for being a sponsor of this podcast, and we are so excited because we get a chance to actually talk to you every week and have some amazing individuals that can help all of us understand a little bit more about ourselves and what makes us tick. And my guest this week is somebody I am super excited to share with you because I know she's going to share some information that's going to help change your life for the better. So let me bring up to the stage right now Miss Montrella Cowan. How you doing?
Hello, Sakoni. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I am doing great. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you. Happy Labor Day weekend as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, listen, I want you to take a minute and tell the people about you and why they should tune in to what you have to say.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And also, thank you for the service that you're doing to our community. So, I'm here just to back you up, sir, in all that you're doing as a licensed therapist, best-selling author, and life coach. I'm here to share the wisdom, and hopefully, we'll touch some souls today. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I am so excited for that. So listen, let's just hop into these questions because I know you have a ton of boatload of wisdom to share with our audience today. So my first question is, in your professional opinion, how important is inner child healing?
Inner child healing is probably the number one thing that we should be working on, as especially as adults and young adults as well, because when we don't work on that inner child and all the trauma and things that we may have experienced, we'll stay stuck. And in 2024, you don't want to be stuck. You want to be moving ahead. And so it's very important. I think it's a top priority. And honestly, I know that we got issues with government and we got issues with inflation and the economy and all of these various issues. But I truly believe that our number one issue is neglect of the mindset. And so we want to really start to foster, tune in, lock in, really like a pit on a bone, and start to work on that.
Yeah, yeah. I know for a fact that ever since I don't even say that I stumbled upon it. I mean, I honestly believe that I was divinely led in this direction,
Yes.
to really address it and being a speaker like yourself, but not necessarily focusing on mental health, but having a stake in this. You know, I made it a point to be passionate about sharing what I understand and know about what goes into making us who we are. Because I tell people all the time, it's not what you do, but why you do it. Because if you don't understand the why, you'll keep doing the what.
Yeah.
And so that, that was the catalyst for, for me taking this direction, because I still do personal development, I still do leadership development, but even with both of those aspects, I think that inner child healing is the third leg on that stool, because I tell people that you can't lead others till you learn how to lead yourself.
Right.
Once you learn how to lead yourself, the next logical step is to lead other people. But I have forgotten about that part of us that's still there. It shows up every now and
Oh, yes.
then,
Oh,
and it
yes.
and if we haven't made peace with our inner child, it will show out on us.
Yes.
So my next
Absolutely.
question is, in your professional opinion, when should somebody start inner child work?
Yesterday, yesteryear, ASAP, like
Hey,
truly, as soon as possible, because we know we can't get back yesteryear and yesterday. No, seriously, it's just, the moment that you recognize that you need to deal with that, I think you should deal with that. Yeah, we got to stop like making other things a priority. What we don't recognize is that when we get up in the morning,
mhm,
everybody has a vision and they trying to help make us carry out their vision. So that
right,
constantly negative news and all of this stuff, they're putting in what they want us to carry for the day. So we
right,
have to start to prioritize us, look
right,
within, okay? Because inner harmony, it starts within. And so we
absolutely,
want to make sure that we are prioritizing that. And again, it's just really about having a life that we love. If we're
cool,
parents, like you and I are, it's
right,
about passing on a legacy. So what we have to do is stop, passing down tragedy and start
mm,
passing on legacy,
yes,
healthy
yes,
legacy. So it's
yeah,
very important. The sooner the better. But it's
yeah.
never too late.
Oh yeah, it's definitely never too late. And I love what you said about legacy, because that's near and dear to my heart as well. I was sharing a couple of years ago on a National Men's Prayer Call, and our
Yes.
subject was consistency. And I shared with them. I said, we know consistency is the second leg of a four-leg race, and they all looked at me like I had lost my mind. I said, wait a minute, let me explain. I said, before you can be consistent, you have to be committed,
Mm.
because without no commitment, there is no consistency.
Oh, I love that. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
But if you are consistent at whatever it is you're doing, you can't help but see success, because the more you
Yes.
do it, the better you get.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's the commitment is the first leg, consistency is
Yes.
the second leg of the race,
Yeah.
success is the third leg. But I told
No.
them success over time leaves what you just talked about,
Mm.
a legacy.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
A
Yes,
legacy.
because a lot of times with, the inner child working, when we don't deal with that, I'd say that we basically adopt this tapestry of illegitimacy where we
Ooh,
forget who we are, because trauma will make you believe things about yourself that aren't true. So we take
mm,
on this identity. And so we
mm,
have to give up that tapestry of illegitimacy, which consists of self-doubt. And then you go into self image, the negative version of the self image, which we did get from in the womb. And then it
right.
goes on to self neglect. And finally, we get to self harm. A lot of us are in toxic relationships. We're self harming by obesity and other chronic illnesses like diabetes,
Mm,
because we haven't dealt with this. And the moment we start to work on that inner child, as you say, and give up that illegitimacy, we can
right.
really walk in our what I call mighty identity, our true selves. Really,
Mm,
really a powerful thing to do.
yeah, that is so true. And I love what you said, that tapestry of illegitimate. I got to write that down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and listen to this again, because that
Yeah.
that was because that was so profound. Because I know that it takes. And I shared this a couple of years ago. I said, the bravest thing we can do is heal from our hurt,
Mm. Yes.
and it takes courage
It takes a lot of courage. You are
to
so right.
do that. But
Yes.
if you can imagine and envision the results, the life you would live, how you would view yourself, the the legacy you're leaving from for your children,
Yes.
then it's worth putting in the work. It's
Oh,
worth
absolutely.
going through that process.
Yes.
And so yeah, yes. Man, this is good. This is good. All right. So my next question is, how does trauma, inner child trauma, childhood trauma wounds, how do they show up in life and in relationships?
Mm. Everywhere. They show up for the anniversaries, they show up at the wedding, they show up at the divorce, of course. They show up in the workplace. No, honestly, and Sakoni, you may not know this about me, but one of the sort of epiphanies, like one of the most whew, tragic things in my life happened when I was 14 years old. I
Mm,
was a mother by the time I was 15. But I
wow.
was raped by my daughter's father at the age of 14. And he was this guy who he was actually an adult, but he posed as a teenager. And I
Mm,
felt like in that moment when my innocence was basically robbed of me, first of all, I felt a lot of shame and guilt because
mhm.
I felt like I betrayed both fathers, my heavenly father and my biological father who was going to kick my tail. I was
Wow.
terrified. But I walked away from that experience, first of all, feeling like it was my fault, which a lot of sexual assault victims do experience, unfortunately, until we start to work on the healing and we know that's not true. And I
Right.
started to believe that I was unworthy and unlovable. And you
Mm,
probably can write the script after that. So what did I pull in? People who didn't treat me well, right? I was basically abusing myself at that point because I didn't think I was deserving of goodness,
right.
God's grace. So that's just an example of how trauma can really impact us. It'll make us believe lies about ourselves. And so
Yeah.
we have to work and heal from that. And I actually have this model called truth over trauma. And in my truth over trauma model, it starts with trouble. That's the problem. And then
Mm,
it gets into the trauma. And what a lot of people think is that trauma is that trouble. It's the incident or the event or the assault in my case. But in
right.
fact, trauma is our emotional response to it. And so once
Yes.
you recognize that, and this is why you can have two people in the same household, they grew up in the same household, they experience the same thing. One is
Right.
off living his or her best life, while the other is stuck because that's the emotional response of that particular person. And so
Yeah.
once we realize that, the next phase is your testimony. See, we think we want to trade places with folks like the Kardashians and such, but let me tell you something. I'm a therapist, okay? I know the behind the scenes, and it's going to be quite ugly, okay?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so but when we recognize and value our own testimony, woo, we can
Mm,
start to do like you're doing and be of service to others, which we are all here to do in our own special divine purpose way. Finally, you get to truth when you do the work, which leads to transformation.
mm,
So I know that we just want to kind of skip this. And even as parents, we don't want our children to get a boo boo, but we have to start to understand that them getting that boo boo helps them to learn how to walk, helps them to learn how to
exactly.
defend themselves, right? So
Yeah.
eventually we got to take the training wheels off and let our
Yeah.
babies be adults, right? Good decision making ones, of course. Work too
Yeah.
hard, we have to turn out like that, right? But
Right.
the point is that the work, it really needs to be done so that we can go on and really step into our greatness and stop really hiding. It's like a hiding, right? When we don't do
It
this
is.
work and we feel like it's an imposter syndrome, but no, it's just kind of getting rid of all the crap that we bought into. Stop buying into the lies of who we are.
Right.
Recognize that God is our Father and we have things to do and we need to
That's
show up in full form,
that's
healthy,
that's
ready, and mentally prepared.
that's right. A good friend of mine tell me I got stuff to do.
And
That
nobody
is
can
so
do
good.
it for you. That's the thing.
That's it. And
No.
nobody can do it like you.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, you are the aspirin to somebody's headache.
Woo, I like that. I gotta hang with you more off this account. Yes.
Somebody is waiting for you to show up because
Yeah.
they need what you have. And like
Yes.
Dr. Miles Monroe said, the fruit isn't for the tree.
Yeah. Woo.
Your gift, what God has given you and what God is shown you to do is for somebody, is for you to give away to whoever. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be the 10,000 people, it could be the 10 people or just one.
Yes.
But what we talked about earlier, you got to consistently do it. You
Yes.
got to consistently show up, because that's where you leave you blaze a trail for others to follow. You leave
Absolutely. Yeah.
a picture in their mind of this is
Yes.
how you keep going in spite of the challenges that you face. And I want
Yes.
to applaud you for doing that for yourself. And not only that, but also doing this for other people, because being in a position that you are, it's hard enough for us to unpack our own baggage.
Yes.
But for you to take up the mantle and take up the charge to help somebody else do that, I applaud you and
Thank you.
people like you who have put themselves in a position to deal with some of the worst things imaginable from a mental and emotional standpoint, but still to help somebody through that. And my
Yes.
hat's off to you, and I applaud you for doing that.
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate that. And if I had not did the healing, if I had not worked on myself, if I hadn't went to my own therapist and dealt with
That
my own
part.
depression and all the post-traumatic stress that I experienced from that, I wouldn't be here before you today. Not doing this anyway.
I know for sure, for sure. So my next question is, what do you believe is the biggest obstacle when it comes to inner child healing?
Mm, that's a good one. Yes. Well, I would say it's three things, right? It's fear. We got
Okay.
fear of pain. You kind of touched on that earlier. We
Hmm.
we a lot of times, I don't know. I think sometimes people watch too much TV because coming to see me don't feel that bad. But honestly, like, people feel like it's just so painful. And so, and that
Hmm.
usually comes anytime we have experiences of uncertainty and it feels like
Hmm.
out of our control. We kind of
Right,
avoid that. So that
right.
fear of pain. And then you have the fear of shame. And that's what I mentioned that I experienced. You feel guilt. Sometimes our family will shame us, culturally, being a member of the Black community. A lot of times when we seek professional help, we're looking at that as a sign of weakness or vulnerability. So that's shame. And then the final fear is of change. As much as we complain about the drama, we comfortable in that drama. It's very
Mm.
scary, like I said, to give up the identity, to really step into your birthright and be who you're supposed to be. It takes responsibility. It's scary. It's much easier to play small, but
Mm.
that's not where it's at. So that fear of change, and there's been studies that show that fear of change itself is like one of the biggest barriers to personal growth. What I'm here to tell you, if you're trying to get through post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that, you're going to have what's called PF. You got to have that. PF stands for psychological flexibility. This is where we can look
Mm.
at our experiences and we get to redefine them. We get to redefine them. It's not pretending like the bad thing didn't happen or the trauma didn't occur, but it's more about really learning from that, reframing it, because it's gone. We can actually, when we do this work, say, you know what? That was then. This is now. And we can take any lessons. I always say take the L. And when I say take the L, I'm not talking about take the loss. I'm talking about take the lesson. Because when we
Mm.
don't get the lesson, guess what? God gonna keep knocking us up upside our head until we get it. We hard headed. We be thinking he hard headed. God ain't hard headed. We can tell him one time. We keep praying for the same thing. Let me tell you, it's us who's hard headed.
Yep. That's it. That is it. That
So
is
that
it.
psychological flexibility is so key to helping us to really overcome it. And that's the way we will get over those three fears that I mentioned. You got the shame, you got the pain, and you got the change. Get rid of those fears. Start to do the work. Is not a painful process. I get so many people who finally take that step and they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this a long time ago? And I'm like, well, it's your season now. The good thing is you're here. So I would say, ladies and gentlemen out there, just get started and stop trying to go to mama and BFF, your best friend for life, or your partner.
Right.
Like they're your therapist. Let them
Right.
stay in their lane. Even the pastors, they busy. They got so much on their plates. Come to licensed professionals. You know why? One of the magic pieces of therapy is an objective perspective. See, I'm not invested emotionally. I'm not biased in that way. So when you come for an objective perspective, it's very refreshing and it can actually be extremely helpful. So take that first step.
Yeah. Well, you've already answered my next question, which is, can somebody do inner child work alone?
Mm,
And and like we had a conversation even before we got started, where it's good for us to identify our need for it.
mhm.
And we can even try as much as we can on our own. But I know that there comes a point, especially depending upon the trauma and depending upon the wound, where you need a professional like yourself that is unbiased and that is willing to actually help hold your hand and walk you through that process.
Absolutely. So yeah, you already know my opinion on that, and
Yeah.
that is don't do it alone. I think that doing it alone is just to acknowledge it. That's a huge, huge step. A lot of us are in denial about it. A lot of
Hmm.
us aren't even aware. I learned a while ago now, don't take consciousness for granted. It's kind of like common sense. Everybody don't have it. So,
Common sense
when
ain't
you
common.
do become aware, and I do think that's one of the benefits of social media, to be quite honest. I mean, look at us, we're able to stream tonight. Like this is nice because people can have access from all around the world. So there are some benefits to the technology advancements and things and such. So sometimes even if we are a little bit asleep, we can be awakened by, a video or, people like you who are doing the service and spreading the awareness. So that's about to the extent that I recommend that you do it yourself. You know what I
Right,
mean? It's
right.
not that kind
Right.
of thing. You really do that objective perspective. If y'all can remember that, that's a little bit of secret sauce I'm sharing with you tonight. It's the objective perspective. That's why this thing works so well. So obviously you can't be objective to yourself. So
Right.
that's the main thing is reach out. It's not painful. Now I do say in terms of how to find a therapist, even as you're saying that, like, with your sponsor, I say that therapy is like dating and you want to find a good match. Okay. So
Exactly.
everybody's not going to be your cup of tea, and that's okay. You're not hurting a therapist's feelings if, you don't find it's a good match. And then you find people who just absolutely, they are a perfect fit. They're a great fit. Right. And, so it's okay to, like, try somebody out. And if it's not working, then go ahead, go with your gut and try someone else, but don't use that as an excuse to get started in this. But yeah, don't do it alone. Especially in our culture. See, we've been taught that
Right.
we're doing it all alone. A lot of us, we walking around here, we looking like $1 million, right? And
Right.
the
Right.
pain is bottled up inside of us. Meanwhile, we're suffering in silence. So
Mm,
I'm here to say, break the stigma, reach out for help. You are not alone.
Amen. Amen. That is so true. We have a comment from somebody watching on YouTube.
Help
Dr.
me.
Ladoya, she says, absolutely, acknowledgement is not action. And
Oof.
so we can acknowledge it, but then it's like, okay, so what are we doing after the acknowledgement?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and that reminds me of a post I
Thank
shared.
you for that. Yes.
Well, in fact, the post I shared yesterday where I said some people use imperfections as a crutch and
Mm.
not a call to action.
Oof. Yes.
They use imperfection as a crutch and not a call to action.
Yeah.
They'll just say, well, I'm imperfect. This happened to me. This
Yes.
caused me hurt. This caused me pain.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I get it. How are we going to fix it?
Yes. Yeah.
Some people are like,
Yeah.
and this is the reason why I'm like this.
Yeah.
Okay, but what are you doing to change that?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
part of you touching on some powerful stuff tonight. Well, one of the main things with that procrastination is that could actually be a symptom of trauma. See, what people don't realize is when they come for therapy, they done Googled everything. First of all, that's not customized, okay? That's kind of like buying a one size fits all suit. Can you imagine? Not gonna fit. You know what I mean? I
Right.
like my stuff. I like my stuff to fit me. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay,
so you
tailored,
don't
huh?
and so
Yeah.
you don't want to be, Googling. right? But
Right.
therapy really helps you to see what you don't know that you don't even know. You see, like
Mm,
I know I don't know how to fly a plane, but I certainly know I could go to pilot school and learn that.
right.
Therapy helps you tap into what you don't know that you don't even know. So
Mm.
come on in, y'all.
Come
Let's get
on in.
started.
Come on in. Well, and that's really a great springboard into our next question, which is how can someone help others who are struggling to identify the need for inner child work?
Mm. So, Coney, I think you're gonna be a therapist in your next lifetime. You on
What you
point.
mean? Nick? This is
I
it. This
love
is
it.
it right
That's what
now.
we do. We ask good questions. No, these are really, really powerful. And your audience, y'all are so lucky to have him. I just want you to know that. So, whew.
Take your time. Take your time.
So what do you think about that? Tell me, what do you
Well,
think?
I think that it depends upon the level of relationship you have with the individual. For instance, I'm not just going to talk somebody across the gas pump or somebody I met at a grocery store or somebody I met at the mall. I'm not going to be like,
Mhm.
hey, look, you sound like you got some inner child work that you need to do because you did like, no, 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 no. I
Okay.
may I may perceive that their reaction was a trigger for something else, but I don't know them well enough to say anything to them.
Good. Okay.
But if I'm in a relationship with someone, if I built a
Yeah.
friendship, if I
Uh-huh.
know them on that level, I
Yes.
think I should, as a friend, I think I should
Yes.
have a right to at least raise their awareness of it. Again, I'm not a trained professional, I'm not a psychologist or a psychologist, but I care enough about them to say, hey, listen, I see you're dealing with this, or I have noticed this, and then even ask them a question. Where do you think that come from? Why do you think you respond like that?
Mm,
Um, because I started that way with myself. I,
mm,
I started questioning myself, and I tell
yeah.
people all the time, and I'm gonna let you talk in a second, but I
No,
tell people
I'm
all the time,
listening. I'm listening. I'm trying to soften my blow. That's all. I'm listening. No,
I tell
you
people,
doing something for sure. Yeah.
yeah, yes. So see, we ask questions of everybody else, but rarely do we ask questions of ourselves.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I started that. I started
Mm,
asking myself,
yeah.
and I've told this story a
Yeah.
thousand times. I was in a relationship while I was in college in Atlanta, and the relationship went bad.
Mm,
And after it did, I started asking myself questions. I'm like, and I really didn't blame her. I didn't
mm,
get mad at her. I started looking at me. It's like, why is
yes.
it that you hang on for dear life? Like, what is it about you to have you just in there fighting when it seemed like all hope is
Mm,
lost? What is it?
wow.
What about you has you hanging on? And I started that journey back then, and I'm still on it now.
I love it.
But
Yeah.
asking that question of myself really helped me to again
Mm,
step back and look at what
mm,
what went into making me who I am.
mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. So just to add to that,
Okay, okay,
just to add to that, as a dad, children don't do what we say.
do
They do what we do. And
right.
it's really the same with our friends and our loved ones who we see are suffering and may not be aware that they probably should seek help. We have to lead by example. And you
Mm,
are definitely doing that. But rather than, you know how you when you're studying for that learner's permit before you get the driver's license, and they say, well, if you're slipping on the road, which way do you turn?
right, right.
You lean in. You
Mm,
lean in. So when we're like, go left, they're gonna go right. They're gonna resist. So
right.
sometimes our need to try to help and help people see what I call their blind spots can actually
Mhm,
prolong their healing process because they're
mm,
so busy rebelling and resistance against you that they don't check it out.
yeah,
However, if they see you and they see you managing your emotions well, and they see that you're no longer reacting but responding, they're like, wait a minute, how long you been seeing that therapist? They'll be the first to notice the shift.
right,
And so that's
right.
a good thing. So I would say honestly lead by example. And then another thing, because I know some of us just got that drive to help. We mean so well. We diagnosing. We trying to show them their blind spots. We trying to
That's
push
me.
them and pull.
That's me. I
So
confess, that's me.
one of the things you can do too. See, I'm trying to help you keep your friends. One of the other things you can do is just say, "Have you ever considered talking to someone?" Just ask them. Put
Mm.
the ball in their court. Just like that.
That's
It's a lot
it.
easier, trust me. It's a lot easier than trying to pull and push. Yeah. Does that help? I just
It
added
does
to what you said.
It does help. It does help because sometimes, and when you talk about those people who have that drive and that need to help, that's
Yeah.
me. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it is. And even in my own therapy, I've had to learn.
Mhm.
Okay, I got to pull back. I
Yes.
got to pull back.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
I do admit that it is a struggle for me, and and not because I'm trying to like live up to some kind of unrealistic expectation, but I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's in my heart to do.
Yes.
It's a passion of mine to help people, and I don't
Yes.
care who it is. Whether they're in the family, out the family.
Yes.
But yeah, I am learning,
Yeah.
and I am working on that whole pulling back and
Yes.
leading by example, like
Yes.
which is a phenomenal thing that I think all of us need to do. We have
Yeah.
to lead by example.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you one more piece of secret sauce before I leave today.
Okay, all right.
And that is, and y'all write this down for those who are listening. Write down help, HELP,
Mm-hmm.
hug, HUG, and heard, HEARD, like listen. So anytime you have a loved one, your partner, or a friend talking to you,
Mm-hmm.
I challenge you to listen. Do this person really need my help? Or do they actually need a hug? Or do they just want to be heard? And that will make a tremendous difference because for us helpers, as you say, we
Yeah.
tend to shove help down people's throat. And this is why we try to give them all the possible solutions and they get irritated with us. Again, I'm trying to help you keep your friends, okay? So if you ask yourself, do they need help, hug, or to be heard? That's going to make a tremendous difference. And not only that, when you're talking to someone, ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself. See, a lot of times, especially in these relationships, and I ain't heard nothing too bad from you, so kudos. But we got a lot of relationship issues, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
we got to start to understand what we need because we'll go to them and they should assume and all of this. You don't even know what we need. So ask yourself, do I want to just be heard? Do I actually want help? Or do I want a hug? And that's going to help with your conversations. It's going to elevate things because it is
Right.
nothing like, that wrong fit. But when it's the right fit, let's say they just want a hug and you can just hold them, boy, will it make a difference. You like that secret sauce?
Oh yes, I do. That
Hang out with you all night.
that helps me.
With
That
permission from the wife, of course.
does help me for real, for real.
Yeah.
All right, our last question is: how can people start the conversation? And I think you already kind of hinted towards that. Um, and that is, to ask them, have they considered talking to somebody?
Yes, that's the most powerful thing you can do. It's putting the ball in their court. See, I don't know if you ever heard of the drama triangle, but in the drama triangle, which is you see this play out a lot. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie, but you know how the ending is going to go. It's like you can
Uh,
predict it. The drama triangle is the same way. You have a persecutor, you have a victim, and you have a rescuer. So those people that like the help, like us, and
right,
I'm
right.
one of them, we tend to want to rescue, jump in, right? Now, the issue
Mhm.
with that, you would think, oh, rescue, that's a good thing, right? Our firemen are rescuers. Ain't nothing wrong with that. A lot of them volunteer too. But the
Right.
issue with a rescuer is that they believe that people are incapable. And honey, child, please, ain't nobody incapable. Even our babies, they're quite capable. And so
Okay.
that's just it's just not a good way to look at someone, right? If you feel sorry for them, you can't help them. Certainly, you can empathize with them, but don't sympathize. Don't think you have to do it all for them. And a lot of us
Right.
are like helping somebody get a job, doing their resume, buying their clothes, doing everything, helping them, connecting them with our network, only for them to smoke weed and be late for the interview or show up with a wrinkled shirt, totally sabotage the thing. And again, that could be related to the inner child stuff going on, but we want that thing more than them. And
Yeah.
hear me when I say it, you can't want for somebody more than they want for themselves.
Say that
Again,
again.
you can't
Say that
want
again.
somebody more than they want for themselves.
Yeah.
So let's stop looking at people as if they're so incapable. Certainly, we can be there for them, we can champion for them. Just ask them. But no, trust me, know that they're capable.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
For real. That is so, so true. Well, listen, this has been an amazing podcast. I am so, so excited that you carved out some time, in fact, to be on it. But listen,
Absolutely.
before we get out of here, I do have to, as they say, pay some bills. So I have to
Oh,
share another
yes.
commercial from my sponsor,
Absolutely.
BetterHelp.
Okay.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/SacconiPrinceHeal. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who's had years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or your computer, via a phone call, a video chat, or messaging. However you feel most comfortable. It is the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/SacconiPrinceHeal or choose Sacconi Prince Heal during your sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month.
Yes.
Well, this has been an amazing podcast. And I want to thank Ms. Cowan for being on here and for sharing her wisdom, her insight, and her secret sauce. For those individuals who want to work with you, how could they connect with you?
Oh, follow me on social media. I am always spreading mental health awareness is a passion of mine as well. And so Affinity 411, Affinity 411 on Instagram, Facebook, Affinity 411. Yeah.
Okay, and I've also included her links with this broadcast, so you can check those out there. And I'm telling you, even like she said earlier, when it comes to therapy, it's like dating. You have to find the right match, someone that's going to help you get the most out of it. Because if you can't really stand your therapist or can't open up to them, it's going to be a problem with you getting the best possible results. So
Absolutely.
definitely check her out, and if there's anything she can do to help you, I know she will. And there's an investment that we all have to make, and that investment should be in ourselves. And
Yes.
so watching this podcast, listening to this podcast is just your start. But there's more that you can do. And like I said, we're here to start the conversation, not to end it. You will end it with someone like her. Having a professional to help you get to a better place and a better space.
Yes.
So, Ms. Cowan, is there any last words you have for our listening audience?
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that it is not a coincidence that you are watching this right now. And remember that you are not alone.
Yes, that's so, so true. You are not alone, and we are not alone. And again, I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing to help our community get to a better place and a better space when it comes to mental health awareness, and even inner child healing. Well, this is Sacconi Prince of SacconiPrince.com, where we make motivation personal. We're introducing you to yourself. And this is the Heal Podcast, Help, Elevate, and Learn, based on my book, A Guide for Healing Your Inner Child. And we will see you in the next podcast. Talk to you soon. Bye.